I'm all about somebody going and getting their money, but for some reason, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys have not come to a contract agreement, and I think Mr. Prescott is putting himself in a category that he just doesn't quite belong in. The Patriots and their potential quarterback plans, as Cam Newton would be a viable option, but the Patriots don't seem to be very interested in Cam Newton. The rumors for Jadevon Clowney, what team could he go to? There's a bunch of different options. We're going to walk through all three of these scenarios, my opinions, thoughts. Hit the like button, subscribe, do everything you got to do. Go nowhere else. I don't even mean to come for the jugular, but I challenge any Cowboys fan, any football fan, tell me, what has Dak Prescott done to be the highest paid quarterback in football? What has he done? Outside of good level of play and a show of good talent, what has he done to be the highest paid quarterback in football? Take as long as you need, do all of your research, because I will grill you. I'm all about somebody going and getting their money. But it comes to a point where the asking value is a lot higher than it should be. And it comes to a point where it's almost where greed triumphs over everything else. And that's exactly what this Dak Prescott situation is. There's an article here. It says the perimeters that would get a deal done with Dak Prescott, according to sources. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys have still not agreed to a contract extension. They're saying that part of the reason is the length. Now, usually when it comes to a contract extension not being agreed to, it usually is due to the financial situation, and that's what it was at first. But now, according to this article, it says the parameters that would get a deal done for Dak Prescott, according to sources. The latest on the contract situation with Dak Prescott. The latest headlines from the Dak Prescott situation don't move the needle that much. They do kind of give a clear picture of where this may all be headed. The deadline for the Cowboys and Prescott to get a long-term deal done is July 15th, and almost everyone expects the negotiations to drag on close to that point. I figure that if the contract had not been signed already up to where we are now, it's probably going to be one of those contracts that is signed within 72 hours of the deadline. That is exactly where it's going to be probably dealing. You know, it's been a debate and things that have gone on for so long. It's one of those things where it's not going to get signed. I don't think so until it's the last 72 hours. Within the last 72 hours, that contract will be signed. Part of it seems like Dak Prescott's being difficult, but the other part seems like the Cowboys just don't want to budge. The sticking point is the length of the contract. And the latest bit of info doesn't specifically get into that, but he lays out a deal that a few NFL execs think he would get the job done. According to ESPN, the Cowboys offered $35 million a year for 4 years. According to ESPN, if the Cowboys offer $35 million a year for 4 years, pen would likely hit the paper. I continue to hear from sources that Prescott and the Cowboys are both ready to drag this out to July 15th, franchise tag deadline, if that's the way it's going to be, Fowler said to the show co-host Hannah Storm, and that's the pace right now. It's been slow over the last month, and they still have a gap in money and number of years on the contract. So Prescott's willing to be patient as well. If you're looking at the overall picture, and here's another thing here, it says that if Deshaun Watson gets a deal done in Houston, that only strengthens the quarterback market. Speaking to several executives around the league, they believe if Prescott can get closer to or at $35 million per year mark on the 4-year deal he covets, it's going to be really hard to pass that up. 4 years, $35 million a year. The Cowboys have been pushing for 5 years, but that doesn't look like the Prescott camp is willing to bite. Prescott has the leverage for a couple of reasons. He has a tender in place that he can sign and play under this year and get $31 million, then hit free agency in 2021. The Cowboys could franchise him again, but the price would go up significantly, and that brings us to the second part of the leverage. This is a long article here. Guys like Watson and Mahomes getting new deals would reset the market again. It would drive up the franchise tag for the cost for the future, and would also drive up the expected yearly average of contracts for quarterback positions. There's really no need for Prescott to budge on his contract stance. Jerry Jones are likely to wait until the deadline, but they will likely give in. Expect the numbers to end up in 4-year, $35 million a year range with over $100 million guaranteed. I'm one of those people where I don't feel like we live in a world now where people are denying $35 million. You know, it's like one of those things with the MLB. We have these players that are making these astronomical dollar figures, and they're complaining about a $5 million pay cut, but they would still be ranged in $25 million a year. You ask any normal person that plays baseball at just a college or any type of level, $25 million a year is more than enough money for anybody to play baseball. I would play baseball for $100,000 a year. But here we are, where the levels of greed and just contracts throughout the years have just gotten more and more expensive. The NBA, this past free agency was giving out contracts like it was free candy. They were giving out contracts, this player gets $100 million, this player gets $100 million. But to think that, I'm all about somebody going and getting their money. If you don't think you're getting what you're worth, you need to either go somewhere where you get what you're worth, or tell the people that you're working for, I'm worth more than this. Now, obviously, that's not always an easy discussion, and I don't imagine that it would be. But Prescott, and again, I don't mean to compare him to Mahomes, but I feel like that's where the young quarterback standard is right now. The young quarterback standard right now is Patrick Mahomes, whether you like it or not. I don't think that Dak Prescott should be the highest paid quarterback in the league, because a lot of how you get paid is how the team likes you, and not only that, how the way you perform. Dak Prescott is a good quarterback. I never said that Dak Prescott was not a good quarterback, but it just seems very outlandish to be declining $30 million or $35 million a year for 4 years. The length I can understand. With $35 million, you're getting, let's get this here. He has a tender in place that he can sign and play under the year and get $31 million. He is getting $31 million this year. $31 million is enough for any human being to live the entire length of their life and enjoy nice things. Majority of people in their lifetime do not even accumulate 25% of $35 million in their whole entire life. But again, I'm all about somebody going and getting what they're worth, but at some point, it's just ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. Dak Prescott's a good quarterback, but he's not a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And if you watch football consistently, you know this. He's not a top 5 quarterback. Is he good? Yup. Would I want him on my team? Yup. Would I pay him good money? Yup. Would I pay him more than any other quarterback in football? No. Dak Prescott looks like the closest thing to an answer for the Dallas Cowboys right now, and rightfully so. But again, $35 million a year to shut that down, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. There's a very slim chance, and I don't think it's going to happen, there's also a very slim chance that Dak Prescott could say and go elsewhere. I don't see that. I don't see Dak Prescott leaving. I do think that Dak Prescott and the Cowboys will come to an agreement at some sorts, but I think that it is going to come down to the wire, and we'll have to see what happens. But again, the idea here is $35 million a year range, 4 or 5 year contract. With over $100 million, regardless of what happens, you are taking home $100 million. Who could say no to that? Who could say no to that? Honestly, it's again, I'm all about somebody going and getting their money, but at some point, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We'll see what happens. Patrick Mahomes, now this is a whole different story. Patrick Mahomes has changed football in just 2 years. He has done unbelievable things. He has a Super Bowl title under his belt. Again, he's still young. Patrick Mahomes is the type of guy that you throw everything and the kitchen sink and then some at. You throw everything at Patrick Mahomes. You don't throw everything at Dak Prescott. But here we are. We're going to see what happens. I'll keep you updated if there's some kind of contract or situation. But again, it is what it is. But talking about next, what is it exactly with these 2 free agent players that have high demands or just want to play for a team and nobody's going to pick them up? We're talking about Cam Newton and Jadevon Clowney. Now let's talk about Cam Newton first, because he's the probably the top free agent right now. Cam Newton and the Panthers didn't always get along. The Panthers got Teddy Bridgewater, and once they got Teddy Bridgewater, that was the pretty much the nail in the coffin for Cam Newton. Okay. The thing is that I personally believe the reason why Cam Newton is not on a football team right now, I don't think it's talent. I think maybe he lost a little bit because he's got football rust, but I don't think talent is the problem as to why Cam Newton is not on a team. I honestly believe the problem is the way that he presents himself, and I think that turns a lot of teams off, and that's one of the reasons. The second reason is that right now there's not a lot of quarterback spots open. There really isn't. There was teams a couple of years ago that were dying for quarterbacks, Cleveland, Jacksonville. A lot of these teams are set on the guys that they're going with. The Browns, regardless of what you say about Mayfield, are set on him. The Jaguars are a team that I think, is realistic because, again, everyone's saying New England, New England, New England. If New England wanted Cam Newton, I think they would have snagged him a long time ago. I really do think that New England would have snagged Cam Newton a long time ago if that was somebody that they were interested in. I think for some reason it's not talent. I just think Bill Belichick, the way that he runs the organization or is on the sidelines, I don't think that Cam Newton rubs New England the way that they want. You're going from Tom Brady to Cam Newton. Tom Brady I just think that it's not a matter of talent. I don't think it ever was with Cam Newton. Now, according to this article, they say the proposed team is the Arizona Cardinals. I kind of looked at that and scratched my head for a minute. I said, well, why the Arizona Cardinals? But then you got to look at it. Newton's chance of landing either a starting job or lucrative backup money went out the window a while ago. But Arizona is among teams that could still land to upgrade the number 2 spot. Kyler Murray is unquestionably Cliff Kingsbury's guy. Kyler Murray is the guy in Arizona. But his size and style of play, coupled with a late-season injury as a rookie, suggests the Cardinals should consider a better insurance plan than Brett Hundley, especially after spending the offseason restocking for a playoff run. Newton's dual-threat abilities would be a treat for Kingsbury, and Cam would get a chance to rest up and mentor Murray with an eye on returning to quarterback 1 duties elsewhere in 2021. Projected contract, 1 year, $3 million. Really think about it? The way that this was worded and the way that this was done? Absolutely. Absolutely. Cam Newton's not going to be a long-term solution in Arizona, but if you really think about it, Kyler Murray's young. He's clearly talented. I think Cam Newton, DeAndre Hopkins, I think Cam Newton on the Cardinals would be really fun to watch. I didn't think about that because everybody thinks about, they already have a quarterback. But people don't realize it could just be a gap. Because if teams see Cam Newton do well, or just, and again, that's not me wishing injury on Kyler Murray. Because when the season would start, they would start him. But Cam Newton has specifically stated he does not want to be a backup. Cam Newton, I don't think he wants to be one of those quarterbacks where he has 1 year, $3 million bridge. Next team, 1 year, $3 million bridge. I don't think he wants to be one of those quarterbacks where he is constantly bouncing around. He doesn't want to be, all respect to Ryan Fitzpatrick, he doesn't want to be one of those guys. And Cam Newton is more than talented enough to be a starting quarterback on most football teams. But the idea there isn't that bad. I just don't think Cam Newton wants it. I think he wants to be the lead guy, and that is where the problem lies. New England doesn't want him. I said Jacksonville. Minshew's not a bad quarterback, but he's not a long-term quarterback. I don't know why people are so sold on Gardner Minshew. For whatever reason, I don't see it. I don't think the guy is that great. I really don't. They don't got Nick Foles now. So what if Minshew craps the bed and the Jaguars are going to be 3-13? You know what I mean? It's just they have weapons. I think Jacksonville's a good spot. Now Arizona's not a bad spot here. There's another free agent on here. Well, I'm not going to talk about him because there's nothing really doing anything. But we're going to talk about the free agent here that is going to be relevant to my team, Jadevon Clowney. Jadevon Clowney has a bad injury history. It says here, Clowney's injury history compounded with the restrictions of the offseason all but ensure he won't land top dollar in a long-term deal. That's the problem. Part of the problem why Clowney doesn't have a team yet is because he wants top dollar. He wants $20, $25 million a year. But he knows that he has no leverage because these teams are not going to sign somebody who's constantly on the sidelines. It's not going to happen. Okay? They're not going to sign Jadevon Clowney because he has no leverage. Is he a good player? Yeah, he's a damn good pass rusher. But he's always hurt. And that's where a lot of the problem lies with Jadevon Clowney. His top proposed team is the Titans, and I'm all for it. I understand it's a risk, but if there's something that we need to bolster this Titans team at, especially after losing some big names, we need to boost our pass rush, and I'm all for Clowney. The number 1 spot he's projected to go is the Titans, and I'm with it. Let's do it. So it comes down to 1 year offer he prefers, having reportedly already balked at big money from the Browns. The Browns turned him down. To return to Seattle, Seattle turned him down. Tennessee just makes the most sense. The Titans could stand to patch over their inexplicable decision to give Vic Beasley $9.5 million. I don't know why they did that. Their team is built on boasting a sterling defense and familiar with Clowney from his AFC South past. Clowney, who has experience in the 3-4, would also be closer to home in South Carolina. Let's do it. I'm all for it. 1 year, though. 1 year. We can't give Jadevon Clowney a massive contract. That was a mistake. I think Tannehill was great for the Titans, but the Titans took Tannehill's contract and they said, we got 10 good games, 5 years, here's everything. That was a mistake. I would have given him a 2-year contract and readdress the situation after the next 2 years. Because if the Titans come out this year and we're 6-10, you know, you just lost all that money. But I'm all for Jadevon Clowney. I am. Projected contract, 1 year, 16.5. You know, he wants $25 million. We're not giving him $25 million. Don't do that. But I'm all for him. I would love to see Clowney on the Titans. But again, you got to keep in mind it's a risk. The guy can play 2 games and get hurt, and we won't see him. That's why you can't give him $25 million. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. As always, hit the like, subscribe, do everything you got to do, and stay safe.